This is my Oculus Quest 2, and I bought it for only one reason. To play Half-Life Alyx. Facebook's parent company Meta sold 20 million Quest 2s, and while we don't have any sales figures for the Quest 3, it's overtaken the Quest 2 in popularity on the Steam hardware survey, and that's a good indication of hardware sales. Despite this, virtual reality has been in a steady decline in popularity for some time. VR was supposed to replace real life. Instead, it replaced your dusty Wii in the closet. It had the hype, the tech, the money, so why does it feel like nobody actually cares anymore? For decades, virtual reality has been described as the future of human interaction, the computing platform that would replace screens, revolutionize gaming, education, and even social life. From the early headsets in the 90s to Meta's billions of dollars poured into the metaverse, the idea has always been the same: complete digital immersion. And yet, after all the hype, adoption rates remain stagnant. VR headsets are owned by less than 5% of consumers in developed markets. The majority of those who buy them use them for a few weeks and then let them collect dust. Despite massive investment, constant innovation, and genuine enthusiasm from technologists, VR has failed to become the next big thing. So the question isn't really whether VR works. The question is why it never took off. Every new wave of VR has promised to fix the problems of the generation before it. Lower latency, lighter headsets, better tracking, wireless freedom. And while the technology has undeniably improved, the fundamental issue hasn't changed. VR hardware is still inconvenient. To use it, you have to put on a headset that blocks your vision, limits your mobility, and requires a significant amount of setup. Even the most portable devices like the Meta Quest 3 or the Apple Vision Pro remain bulky compared to everyday electronics. People simply don't want to have to strap something to their face for extended periods. Human behavior is built around frictionless technology. We use what's easy. Smartphones succeeded because they fit into your pocket and turned on instantly. VR demands a ritual: cleaning the space, charging the controllers, adjusting the straps, isolating yourself from your surroundings. That physical separation makes you plan to use it, not something that you live with. VR's economic model has never found stability. Hardware is expensive to design and produce, and yet the customer base is too small to sustain aggressive development. Companies like Meta have lost tens of billions of dollars in VR research and development. Even Sony, with its successful PlayStation ecosystem, sells the PSVR 2 at a loss. Software sales cannot compensate because the audience is too small. For developers, the risk to reward ratio is brutal. Building a AAA VR game requires immense resources, but the market is a fraction of the size of PC or console gaming, so most studios just stay away, leaving only indie projects and tech demos to fill the gap. The result is a circular trap. Limited contents prevents user growth, and limited users prevents constant investment. Economically, VR remains an ecosystem with no self-sustaining core. Even if the hardware and economics were perfect, the human body poses a limit that VR has never solved. Motion sickness, eye strain, and fatigue remain widespread issues. When your eyes perceive motion but your inner ear doesn't, your brain interprets it as poisoning, a built-in survival response that causes nausea. Some users adapt over time, but a significant percentage never do. The technology has improved refresh rates and latency, but it does not address the core issue. The underlying biological conflict has not gone away. There's also a problem of comfort and social presence. Extended sessions in VR are isolating. You can't see the people around you, and you can't easily talk to them without feeling disconnected. For most users, the novelty wears off once they realize that VR removes them from their environment rather than actually integrating them with it. Humans are social and contextual beings. We rely on subtle cues, eye contact, body language, ambient awareness. VR strips all of those away, replacing them with avatars and voice chat. It's functional, but it just doesn't feel natural. The biggest reason that VR hasn't succeeded is content, or rather lack of meaningful content. Yes, there are exceptional titles, Beat Saber, Superhot VR, and in particular Half-Life Alyx, but beyond a handful of experiences, most software falls into one of two categories: a short tech demo or a novelty simulator. No one has really built the killer app for VR, the one experience that makes owning a headset feel indispensable. indispensable. Compared to this, smartphones, within a few years, they had social media, photography, navigation, messaging, all these tools that integrated directly into your life. VR offers entertainment, but not utility. Attempts to create social worlds like Meta's Horizon Worlds or VR Chat highlight another problem. These places, they attract niche communities, but they fail to achieve large-scale polish needed for the mainstream appeal. They feel empty, uncanny, and often awkward. Digital environments where body language and spontaneity of real interaction is completely missing. Until VR truly provides content that requires immersion rather than simply accommodates it, adoption will remain stagnant. When Meta, formerly known as Facebook, rebranded itself around the metaverse, it bet the company on the idea that VR would become the next phase of the internet. But the strategy revealed how far away VR still is from mass adoption. Meta's virtual spaces were clunky, graphically dated, and socially uncomfortable. Most users tried them out once and never returned. Despite years of development, they couldn't overcome the core issue. People don't want to spend their social lives in headsets. Ironically, the more Meta tried to sell its metaverse, the more skeptical the public became. It began to feel like a solution in search of a problem, the corporate fantasy, detached from how people actually use technology. As of 2025, Meta's focus has quietly shifted towards augmented reality and mixed reality, an implicit admission that fully immersive VR isn't the future that they once promised. VR does have successful niches: professional training, medical therapy, military simulation, and architectural visualization all benefit from immersion. But outside of those specialized uses, VR has struggled to demonstrate consistent value. Education experiments have found mixed results. Attention and retention often drop after the initial novelty fades. Remote calibration tools exist, but most professionals prefer the simplicity of video conferencing. The technology's best use case remains narrow, and that's not necessarily a failure, it's just a reality. Not every innovation has to replace existing platforms. Some simply just serve a particular purpose well. The problem is that VR is sold as something being universal, a replacement for screens, offices, even cities, and it has never even come close to that scale. While VR stagnated adjacent to technologies that moved further ahead, augmented reality, mixed reality, and AI-driven interaction are offering more practical paths forward. AR doesn't isolate the user, it enhances their existing environment. It merges digital data with the real world, which aligns more narrowly with how humans think and behave. Devices like the Apple Vision Pro are already shifting focus from pure VR to mixed reality, experiences that allow users to see their surroundings while interacting with digital content. Similarly, AI systems can now simulate social, creative, and educational experiences without requiring full immersion. In many cases, they deliver what VR promised: engagement and personalization through a simpler, more accessible means. In other words, VR's competitors are succeeded by being less immersive, not more. Some argue that VR isn't dead, it's just early. After all, every major technology from personal computers to smartphones took decades to mature, but history suggests something different. Successful technologies meet people where they are. The failed ones demand people to change their behavior to fit the product, and VR belongs in the later category. It asks users to abandon their physical surroundings, isolate themselves, and engage with content in a way that is not sustainable in everyday life. It's not just a temporary limitation, it's a fundamental mismatch between human nature and the concept itself. The issue isn't that VR lacks potential, it's that potential doesn't align with how people actually want to live, work, or socialize. Even if VR never becomes mainstream, its legacy will matter. It's pushed the boundaries of display technology, motion tracking, and spatial computing. Those innovations are now feeding into other fields: AR, robotics, and even medicine. In that sense, VR is less of a failure and more of a stepping stone, a necessary experiment that clarified what doesn't work on a path to what eventually will. History is full of similar stories. The early aeroplanes were dangerous, impractical, and they paved the way for modern aviation. Early computers filled entire rooms, but they evolved into tools that we can't live without. The difference is that those technologies solved fundamental problems. VR, at least for now, doesn't solve anything. Virtual reality is not a completely dead technology, but it is a failed concept, at least in the way that it's been marketed, as a universal medium that would redefine the human experience. The reality is that they are specialized tools with narrow but valuable applications. Its failure isn't due to lack of innovation, but because it conflicts with everyday human behavior, economics, and comfort. VR does remain fascinating, but impractical. Maybe the true future of digital interaction won't be about escaping reality, but blending with it seamlessly, naturally, and on human terms. If you need a custom PC built for your exact budget, look no further than SVG PCs. Head to our website and fill out the form with your budget and what games you want to play, and we will build you a custom rig that works best for you. Alternatively, if you want to build your own rig and you want some advice, you can hop on a call with us and we can advise you on what parts to buy and how to put it all together. Add our Discord down below if you want to chat to a community of like-minded PC gamers, and like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. Colin from SVG PCs out.